Hey there Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. So in today's video we are going to be taking a look at Chiron in the 10th house. So what we are going to do is we are going to address the wound associated with having Chiron in the 10th house, followed by some practical tips and advice on how to heal. However, before we do get started, if you would like to know more information all about your Chiron sign along with your Chiron house, as well as your Virgo house within your natal birth chart and the 6th house respectively within your birth chart, then I have created a Virgo season / archetype ebook. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide a link to that ebook in the description box below so that you can pick up your copy today. Okay then, so with all those introductions out of the way, Chiron in the 10th house. Let's do this. Okay, so what I am coming to notice here is that if you have Chiron in the 10th house, there may be a wound associated with the types of authority that you experienced. And what I mean by this is that when it came to, for example, certain rules that you had to abide by, that you had to follow whenever you were younger, however they were placed or delivered to you, it might have been done in a really hard, cruel, cold and stern way. So if we were to look at this authority as an association with a certain father figure, maybe you've experienced a father figure in your life who used their authority in quite an abusive way. Maybe they would try to force on you or control you in some way, confine you into doing certain things that just felt like really just like a lot of pressure, and you almost could not escape the wrath of this father figure. Maybe the father figure was that person who had more control over the family. It was their way or the highway kind of attitude. Or this could have been a situation where even that father figure was completely absent from your life. Maybe you were not given any authority at all, and that was then missing from your development. So we can see on either side of this, there's a possibility of authority being used to control, or there was authority not being implemented into your development, and so you had to learn from a young age how to be your own authority. This could have been a situation that was just completely out of your control. So possibly there was a separation between parents, possibly there was a death of a father figure, possibly there was a father figure who was just always working and always just more engrossed in their career, but maybe it was that same outlook that was then placed onto you. So you grew up with this mentality that, well, my father's always working, or whatever parent this was. These people are always working and they're always trying to provide for their family, and so maybe you then felt this pressure to do the same. But whatever way this played out, this might have resulted in you feeling like you have to be successful in life. So whatever career you go into, you may have this outlook that's like, right, I need to achieve, I need to accomplish, I need to be recognized for what I'm doing. And so you have this dialogue that's running that says, okay, every single action, every single thing I do towards this career, I need to gain some sort of validation or recognition from it. You know, this could even be a situation where the accomplishments that you had growing up were rejected in some way. They weren't really seen. So maybe you would achieve something or accomplish something, but your father or a parental figure would never see it, you know. So even if it wasn't that the father figure was absent or the father figure was cold, it still could have been that the father figure just literally did not see the things that you were doing and acknowledge those things as accomplishments. It's almost like there was just always something that could have been better. There was always more that you could have done to get a better grade at school, or to find a partner that was more suited towards your father's expectations. It just seems as if anything that you wanted to do, that you deemed as successful for yourself, that you saw as an achievement, that person just could never see it. So perhaps there is this wound associated with you wanting to almost seek that validation from this figure, but then that can even result in you going into certain careers as a way to say, do you see me now? Do you see all that I'm doing? Do you see my achievements, my accomplishments now? There's this almost overemphasis that you can place on whatever career you go into, but it's because you are unknowingly wanting to seek that recognition from that person who never saw it. But you know what? This doesn't necessarily even have to be a parental figure. This could even be a teacher in school, you know? So you could have experienced implications with teachers whenever you were growing up, because of course teachers are figures of authority. So maybe you had certain teachers who could never really acknowledge and appreciate the work, like the hard work that you were putting into your own accomplishments or towards projects. And so as you go to enter into a certain career, I mean, for example, right, let's say for example that a certain teacher just was cold with you growing up. So you go into a potential career, maybe later on in your life, and all of a sudden they walk into your company, or they walk into the firm that you're working in, and you almost freeze, and it's like, oh flip, there's that teacher from whenever I was younger who said I would never amount to anything. Well, do they see me now? You know, do you see me now, you know, Miss whatever or Mr. whatever? And even if we were to look at authority figures being the police, well, perhaps there's been a situation in your life where the police have falsely accused you of something. Or maybe somebody has reported you to members of authority before about something that you apparently did but you didn't do. Maybe you were falsely accused of a crime that you did not commit. Basically, there is a wound here in connection with members of authority, whether they be your parents, teachers, the police. But even better still, if we were to look at the military, if we were to look at the army as members of authority, maybe you have been deeply wounded in association with these things, meaning that perhaps your father was in the military and they died, or perhaps your father was even in law enforcement within the police, but there was an implication, or maybe your father was wounded in some way, and so maybe there is this urge within you to enter into either of these fields because you want to do right by your father. Though still, if we are to look at this house in connection with our long-term goals, to do with our future aspirations and the person that we're striving to become, so looking at career, if it was that you were not really provided with much direction or command, or you didn't have a father figure who was present to really acknowledge you in some way, well, when it comes to career, maybe you feel quite misguided. Maybe you're just not really sure of what career will best suit you, or what field will really bring you a sense of satisfaction. And so you may be uncertain as to what type of career you want to enter into. But then again, this could even be where you brought forward the type of career that you want for yourself, but that was rejected by somebody else. You know, I think there's also something to be said here about, you know, how when it comes to our parents, some parents try to guide their children more based upon the life that that parent thinks the child should have. Now, they may do this out of fear, or they may do this out of their own experiences, or how their parents also guided and directed them. But still, we notice a lot of parents how they push on their child to achieve certain things because that's what they want for the child. They don't really think about what the child wants. They don't think about the child's skills and their desires in life. It's more about, well, I am going to direct my child and I'm going to be the command over my child. Therefore, in terms of career, if you ever brought forward an idea that you had for a potential career and it didn't align with what your father wanted, or if it didn't align with what your parents wanted overall, you might have experienced a pushback, or you might have been seen as not very responsible, or like you didn't really know what you were talking about. I mean, it's completely ludicrous that you would ever want to get into this particular field to work in, because they don't see the value in it. They didn't see that you really wanted to do it. All they could see was what they wanted for you. And because of that rejection that you faced from your parents, even if you go into a certain career that you really want, maybe there's still these guilty feelings that you have. Maybe there's some resentment that you hold on to because you're not living up to the expectations that your parents wanted. And whilst that certain career may, yes, it may bring you happiness and you may really enjoy it, there's still that dialogue that says, oh, but my father wanted this. Oh, but my parents wanted this from me. And sort of, again, going back to this whole validation and being recognized, you just might not get the recognition that you think you deserve from your parents. But to be honest, this can be a situation where no matter what you do, no matter what field you go into work in, no matter what your destiny is and the life path that you're on is, it's never going to be accepted or appreciated or recognized by your parents. And that is just this harsh reality that you maybe have to realize with this placement. And also, if it was that a father figure or your parents never could recognize your accomplishments, just things that you did, and just say, hey, like, good job. If those things were never recognized, then even the career that you get into and the authority figures that you meet there, like the boss, the manager, maybe you will have a fear of them not recognizing these things within you as well. But even furthering on from this point, perhaps it's actually been where you've faced some form of rejection from a manager or boss within your chosen career. And that rejection may be stemming from the rejection that you faced from the early development, so looking at your parental figures, or it may be that there's so much pressure that was placed onto you that when you go into this career area and you're not recognized, it feels like a personal rejection to you. This could even be where you've been reported by certain people within your chosen career about things that you did, but then it's like, I was just doing my job, I was just trying to help, or I was just trying to assert what I really think we needed for that situation. But those people maybe just don't see that, you know. There's almost like this really strong, there's a strong energy associated with this placement, and it can come across as you getting off on the wrong foot with other people within your career, because maybe they're not quite sure of your authority. Maybe you're not even quite sure of your authority, and you can try to assert your authority within your career, but certain people may not like it or Other people may assert their authority onto you and you may not appreciate it, but at the same time, there's also a possibility here that you are afraid of your full potential. Maybe you're afraid of making certain career decisions and choices and different moves to actually enhance yourself forward. You know, you may be really cautious when it comes to making decisions within your career, or you may be fearful that if you move into a certain space that can enhance your career, that it will ruin your reputation or that something will happen to disrupt it. And you may even struggle setting long-term goals and actually following those long-term goals through to completion. So with that being said, there might be a lot of false starts that you experience throughout your life because of the uncertainties. You might even quit your job because you don't see how you can move forward or move ahead within that certain area. You just might not stay long enough within one certain field because of your feelings of inadequacy, because of your own insecurities. Okay, so now we have discussed the wound, let's look at some practical tips and advice on how to heal. Okay, so kind of going off the last example that I used there at the very end in terms of you struggling to decide what you want to do, struggling to achieve certain things, you know, setting goals and things like that. Well, if we were to look at goals, maybe try to start off small, okay? Little step-by-step goals. See, you may have this mentality that's just so much about the long-term goals and thinking about the decisions that you make now, where they can get you in the long run, that maybe you find it hard to identify those step-by-step, you know, the building blocks, those moves that you make. So try to firstly just set yourself some personal small goals throughout your day, or maybe come together with another person who can keep you on track with your goals. So for example, let's say that you want to make a bit of money, you know, you want to save some money. Rather than having this idea of, I want £10,000 or I want £20,000 in my bank account, that's what I want. So I'm going to get a career where it's a big paycheck and that's the amount of money I want to get because I want to get a house and I want to get this and I want to get that for my long-term future. But actually bringing that back and then thinking to yourself, well, how can I maybe save £200 within a few months? Just trying to identify what really works for you and how realistic you are and practical you are with your goals in association with the amount of money that you're earning and the amount of money that you are spending as well. And seeing how you putting just a little bit away each month, each couple of months, yeah, you can see that then more in the long term. But to actually give yourself a pat on the back every time you put in £10, £20, £30, I hope you get what I'm trying to mean here, is just really looking at the small achievements that you make and how they can contribute to the greater whole. And also, when it comes to difficulties in deciding what you want to do, well, when you do enter into a potential new career role, try not become so overwhelmed by you feeling like this is the only position that you're ever going to get into. And if there's anything that comes up that maybe doesn't sit well with you, to take it to the authority, to take it to somebody else and say, hey, I don't agree with this thing. This thing makes me uncomfortable. I don't feel recognized for what I'm doing. You know, there can be a tendency here of you feeling disheartened by certain struggles and implications that come up within that area, and then you just maybe want to give up or just pack it in. But you have to really think about what you are getting from that role and sit down with yourself and be realistic about how you're being treated or what the laws are or what the performance appraisal is like. Whatever way this is going, it's good to just sit down, think about what you're getting from it, what you're putting into it. Are you being valued for your role? Even on that note, right? If you, for example, are a supervisor within a certain coffee shop, maybe you can gain 2 years, 3 years experience, 4, 5 years experience in the coffee shop as a supervisor. You can still think of that in terms of, well, if I do this for 5 years, I'll have supervisor experience on my belt. And maybe even if you leave there and you go to a different coffee shop or a different supervisor role somewhere else that has better pay, and you feel like that's what you're more destined to do, you can bring those experiences into that new role and you can utilize that then. You know, who knows what new doors could potentially open for you if you really just sit within a particular position and you get really good at it. You know, you give yourself time to really get good with that, whatever career it is. You know, this could even be where you set up your own business and you haven't a clue what business is all about. What the heck, I've never done business before. You go into that business role and you're so confused and you're really scared and there's a lot of fears, which is completely normal, and you maybe want to give up and you're like, oh, I don't know if I can do this, it's too much. But if you just give yourself time, let yourself learn the craft, get to know the role, the post, after a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, you just might be the best at business. You know, there's really something to be said here about you being patient with yourself and learning that it's not about just giving up over the first feeling of insecurity or uncertainty. It's more about realizing that it's a marathon, you know, it takes time. It really does take time to build on your skills and to learn new things and to become a master at what you do. And also when it comes to this whole living up to the expectations of parental figures, well, if you go on to have a child of your own, you can be that type of parent who then learns from your parents' mistakes and decides, you know what, I am not going to place these expectations on my child, and what I am going to do is I am going to applaud, I am going to recognize my child's accomplishments and really build my child up. I am going to show my child that I see and I recognize and I respect them. You can just really learn from your parents' mistakes, and then whenever it comes to your own parenting style, you can be a really supportive and stable figure within that child's life. And also, if your father was absent from your life, if you have a child also, you can be present with your child, you know? And even if you are in a certain career where maybe you're also out working a lot, even in those moments that you are present with your child, you can make it really worthwhile, and you can teach them that, yeah, you know, just to let you know, son or daughter, that I work, I have to do this, I have to do that, and just really share with them why maybe you're always working or the importance to how you're providing for the family. Basically, it's just trying to build on a really good relationship with your child here, and also teaching your child about the importance of responsibility, but in a way that's encouraging and it's motivating, it's uplifting to them, and they feel strong through it, rather than it seeming like just this constant uphill battle or like it's a real struggle. Another way to help with the healing process here as well is by encouraging other people for their accomplishments and their achievements and recognizing it in them. So maybe you have, for example, a partner in your life and you notice that they're working on something and they have been for the longest time. You can be a really supportive figure in their life by recognizing the hard work they're putting in, the time they're putting in, the energy they're putting in. And I think that by you even recognizing that in another person, maybe that can also help you recognize that in yourself as well. And maybe it can also help encourage you to achieve certain things that you want to achieve in your life. So maybe there's something that you've been putting off for the longest time, but then you notice your partner is out there doing their thing, and that encourages you, and you're like, hey, you know what, if they can do it, yes, I can. I can at least try. I know that everybody's different, everyone's experience is different, but who knows what it could lead to if you would just try it. And the last and final way that I'm going to suggest in terms of healing is when it comes to what success really means to you, trying to redefine what it means to be successful in your eyes. So letting go of the notion that success is you being recognized for all you've achieved, or letting go of the notion that you need to earn so much money in terms of being successful, and also letting go of the notion that you need your father's appraisal for what you do, but really taking time to reflect on what success means to you and how you can then align your own actions with that form of success. Okay then, Cosmic Warriors, so that concludes my video on Chiron in the 10th house. So what we did is we looked at the wound, followed by some practical tips and advice on how to heal. Thank you so much for watching, thank you for subscribing, and of course if you would like to see more videos from myself and you have not yet subscribed, then go right ahead and click that subscribe button. And I will be back with another video very, very soon. Bye!